Imagine sitting across from the man who destroyed your sister's life. Now imagine being locked in a cell with him every single day. That's exactly what happened to Shane Goldsby, a man whose story would shake the world after one chilling act of revenge inside a Washington state prison. If you've ever wanted justice for someone who couldn't fight back, this story will hit deep. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around, because what you're about to hear is one of the most shocking and emotionally charged revenge stories ever to come out of a prison. Shane Goldsby wasn't born a monster. He was born broken into a world where pain came long before adulthood. By his mid-20s, he'd already lived more than most could survive: addiction, foster homes, and a life on the streets that led him to bad choices and bad company. But even through all that darkness, there was one person he truly loved: his little sister. She was the light in his otherwise chaotic world. The only family that ever made him feel human. Then, she was taken from him, not in death, but in something even worse. She was raped. And the man who did it, Robert Munger, a 70-year-old predator, was sentenced to 43 years in prison for child rape, molestation, and possession of child abuse material. That should have been the end of it. The man was locked away. Shane's sister could finally begin to heal. But fate had other plans. The echo of metal doors, the buzz of fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant and cold concrete. That's where Shane found himself after being convicted for assault, stealing a police car, and injuring a state trooper. He was no angel, he admitted that. But what came next, no one could have predicted. On June 2nd, he was transferred to a new prison, Airway Heights. Guards shuffled paperwork, scanned files, checked boxes, routine, bureaucratic, careless. And in that mountain of documents, they missed something that would change lives forever. They placed Shane in a shared cell with Robert Munger, his sister's rapist. At first, Shane didn't believe it. He thought it was some sick coincidence, or maybe a cruel joke. But then, Munger started talking. This old man, gray hair, shaky voice, didn't show an ounce of remorse. He mocked Shane, told him details of what he'd done, how he'd hurt her, what he'd made her do. He even described the photos in the videos, the ones Shane had fought so hard to forget existed. Every word was a knife. Every detail a scar reopening. Shane said later in an interview, "I had so much stuff going on in my head. I wasn't stable. I was getting to that point because he kept wanting to give me details. It was building up. And when pain builds up in a man who's already lived through hell, it doesn't fade. It explodes. The breaking point." For weeks, Shane tried to keep his distance. He prayed for a cell change. He distracted himself with chores, reading, workouts, anything to quiet the storm. But Munger wouldn't stop. He'd smirk, whisper filth under his breath. He enjoyed the power. And deep down, Shane could see it. This wasn't just a rapist. This was a man who thrived on others' pain. One morning, Shane woke up with that weight in his chest, that suffocating, burning anger that doesn't let you breathe. He looked at Munger across the cell. The man was laughing at something on TV. And that's when Shane snapped. The attack, captured on camera. It happened in the prison's common area. Surveillance footage shows Munger sitting casually, talking to another inmate. Shane walks up behind him, quiet, steady. For a second, he hesitates. And then, the dam breaks. He hits Munger from behind, one punch, then another. The old man falls to the ground. Shane keeps going. Punch after punch. Kick after kick. Stomping his head until the floor turned red. Guards rushed in, shouting commands, tackling Shane to the ground. But he didn't fight back. He was shaking, crying, his lips whispering the same words over and over. He talked about my sister. Munger died 3 days later. The aftermath. When detectives interviewed Shane, he didn't deny it. He didn't make excuses. He told them exactly why he did it. "I just wanted him to stop. I wanted to hurt him. Not kill him," he said quietly. But deep down, maybe he knew there was no other way this could have ended. The story made headlines across the country. Some called him a murderer. Others, a hero. Comments flooded the internet. I don't condone violence, but I understand it. That rapist picked the wrong cellmate. Justice finally found him. Even the Department of Corrections had to admit they messed up. They said there was no clear indication of a potential conflict in their housing review process. But to the world, it looked like the system had failed twice, first by not protecting Shane's sister, and then by putting Shane in the same room as her abuser. Shane Goldsby stood in court, hands cuffed, eyes heavy with guilt and exhaustion. He was sentenced to an additional 25 years in prison for the killing of Robert Munger. He didn't flinch. He just took a deep breath and turned to the judge. I cannot imagine what it would be like to lose a loved one in this kind of way, he said. To his wife and his whole family, I apologize. I am so sorry and I hope you are able to heal from what I caused. But those who heard him, they knew he wasn't just speaking to Munger's family. He was speaking to the broken system, to the trauma, to the pain that had haunted him since childhood. And maybe, to himself. Did Shane do the right thing? Legally, no. Morally, that's where it gets complicated. He didn't plan it like a movie. He didn't smile over his revenge. It was raw, ugly, impulsive, but in a world where predators often walk free, many saw his act as the closest thing to real justice they'd ever heard of. Behind bars, there's an unspoken code: crimes against children are the lowest of the low. And when Munger crossed paths with the brother of his own victim, karma didn't just knock. It kicked the door in. At the end of the day, Shane's story isn't about glorifying violence, it's about what happens when pain is ignored and justice feels out of reach. When the system fails, sometimes people take matters into their own hands. And the results can be devastating. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments. Do you think Shane deserved his punishment, or did the system fail him first? And for more real-life revenge stories that will keep you thinking long after the video ends, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. Because justice always finds a way.